Welcome everybody to the Backwoods University. Today's class is going to be an introduction into the bow and arrow. There's no way that everything could be covered in one class on the subject of bows and arrows. So today is just going to be an introduction to the bow and arrow. It's a little windy out here, so I think we're going to go inside and finish up the class, so come on along. Bow and arrow. You can't have one without the other, so we're going to discuss both today, both the bow and the arrow. This bow here is what is referred to as a self-bow. And by self-bow, what is meant by that is it is made out of one piece of wood. What you see here is an example of a laminated traditional bow. This would not qualify as a self-bow, even though it's of similar design. I don't know if you can see it in here, but this is actually several layers of wood that has been glued together to create the bow. So this is a laminated bow, and today we're not going to speak much about laminated bows. We're going to focus on self bows. On the limb tips there's a groove, and in that groove is where the string goes. On the string, in the center of the string, is what they call a serving, which is, and then on that serving, there is a knocking point so that you get your arrow knocked in the same location each time. The side of the limb that is facing away from you when you are shooting is referred to as the back of a bow, and the side of the limb that is facing you as you're shooting it is referred to as the belly of a bow. Where you grip the bow is appropriately named the bow grip, the handle. This one is just carved into the wood. Sometimes they're made of leather or similar materials. And this particular bow has a very fine arrow rest carved into it. It's not much, just enough to hold the arrow. Some don't even have an arrow rest, and your arrow is shot off of your hand. When you hear the term bow weight, that does not refer to the actual weight of the bow. What it does refer to is the amount of effort that is required to pull back the bow. Some target bows may be as light as 28 or 30 pounds. A hunting bow used for deer might be in the 45 to 55 pound range, and something like an English war bow may be well over 100 pounds in draw weight. Depending on how large or small the archer is that is pulling back the bow, they have a different draw length. Their arms are either longer or shorter, and they pull back to anchor point a certain amount of inches. And the bow weight would be measured at the draw length of the archer. Self bows can be made of several types of wood that are inducive to making a good bow. One of the best is what is referred to as Osage orange. People come in both right-handed and left-handed, and so do bows. The top bow here, you can see the arrow rest is for a right-handed person, and the bow below it is for a left-handed person. Let's take a look at the other half of the bow and arrow, the arrow. There's the arrow shaft. Shafts are measured in weight also, not the weight necessarily of the shaft, but the spine weight. And what that is the flex of the shaft and how it works in conjunction with the bow weight. Different spine weights fly different out of different bow weights. The nock end of an arrow. This is what goes on the string and keeps the arrow from falling off the string. This particular one is what they call a self nock, meaning that it is cut right directly into the shaft. Right below the groove of the nock, you'll see some sinew reinforcement to keep the shaft from splitting. This is what is referred to as the arrow's fletching. These particular feathers are from a wild turkey, and it's a 3-feather fletch, and it's been tied on with whitetail sinew also. Arrow makers decorate their arrows with their own crest, way of identifying one's arrows. For target archery, something like this field point would be appropriate. For hunting, of course, you would use a broadhead, whether it be a steel broadhead or a stone point. Here's an example of a 2-fletched arrow. Instead of the 3-fletch that you saw earlier, this arrow only has 2 feathers on it. This arrow here has what is referred to as flu fletching, and that's uncut feathers. And the purpose behind this is to actually slow the arrow down when you're shooting aerials or towards the sky, so the arrow doesn't go as far. The common method of carrying your arrows is what is referred to as a back quiver. This particular one is a hand-woven reed material. Hopefully this class has inspired some people that were on the fence about archery and they want to now try it. And I've got several more videos planned regarding archery and different forms of archery, different types of bows, arrows, how to set up a bow, how to shoot a bow, all sorts of information. This video was just intended to give everybody an introduction to the sport of archery